Well, welcome. We have arrived in Advent, right?
Yep.
Not Christmas.
Yeah.
It's Advent.
Yeah.
It is Advent.
I almost said Christmas.
Yeah, but I would say it's the Christmas season.
Yeah.
But to package this up again, we have Advent. Then the Advent is the preparing for Christmas. December 25th is the first day of Christmas, and then there are going to be podcasts for each of the days after Christmas going into Epiphany, and so it's going to be a fun experience for us. And
I'm excited.
So today, our first topic is the topic of hope, and something I was thinking about today to prepare for this. I think it's a common thought or a concept to try to find the true thing of Christmas. It's like it's hidden. It's like trying to uncover the secret golden treasure, and then it opens like, this is the true meaning of Christmas. And I think the thing I'm coming to is Christmas is all of it. It's the some people go into the Christmas season or the Advent season, and it's a season of pain. It is that. Some it's the expectation of hoping that it's going to finally be the thing. And it is that too. That there's a season of there's been someone in your family who has died and is not going to be there. It's that. There's the opening presents under the tree for the 5-year-old kid who's going to be like, so it's that. And so instead of excluding everything and trying to find this hidden thing and saying, here it is, it's actually embracing, I think, all of it, because everyone is trying the best they can to figure out a very complex idea. And the Christmas season is a very complex idea of feelings that all of culture is trying to figure out. And I think God sees it, all of it, and that's it. So if during this podcast it can be this, it isn't to shame something or to say it isn't that. I actually think it's to say it's that, and this, and this, and that, and then we ball it all together and just breathe.
I don't know if I'm going on the same track that you are, but what that makes me think of is like everybody has like their own idea or own wish, right, going in for Christmas. Right. And I am always seeking to find this feeling that I remember as a kid. Like, I want that feeling again. Like, I want this individual. And there's a moment that I remember. My mom had this gold thing that had candles in it. I'm sure a lot of people understand this. And then it had these little angel things, the fire made it go around, right? And I remember she moved things around when I was growing up, like things were in the same place. But there was one year that we had this console table at the end of our hallway going into my room, and she had it there. And I remember like going to bed at Christmas time and just having this like feeling and watching the candles burn and these little angel things. And I'm like, every year, even when I'm decorating my own house down for my kids, I'm like, I want that feeling. That's what I want.
It's good.
Yeah, like the practice of Advent candles isn't like this hundreds-year-old tradition. Like, I think it came from like the late 1800s. And this guy wanted to create something to help the kids in his school look forward to Christmas. So I think we view Advent candles as like
I totally thought it was biblical.
Liturgical like tradition of like we've been doing this for hundreds of years. It's like, no, it started with this guy with this group of kids who wanted to create something to like help these kids begin to look forward to Christmas. And I love that because so like calling the roots out from where it actually came from is like, to a degree, let's try to be kids again and look forward to things.
Well, there's a certain sense of wonder and excitement that I remember feeling as a kid. Mm-hmm. Like when it came to Christmas, like not fully understanding the gravity of what it was, but still wanting to be able to step into it and experience it. Mm-hmm. Like, man, when I think about Christmas, it is probably one of the most human things we can step into, right? So for everything you were talking about, KJ, like the emotions, the heartache, the excitement, the joy, the wonder, the gifts, like, man, like that's a description for what it means to be a human being. Like we are all just this mix of emotion, like, and I think sometimes when we approach Advent or approach the Christmas season, you know, we do the typical like Christian thing where, oh, we've just got to think about this or we've just got to feel this. And we deny all these other parts of us. But like when we actually look at the Christmas story that we find in the scripture, like, man, all of these emotions are there. I mean, think about like Mary and Joseph, the disappointment that they felt while they're also feeling all this excitement. It's like, oh, great. Like our kid's being born in a stable. Like that's not the plan that we had, you know, but then you got like the shepherds who are just out there and they're only experiencing excitement. It's like, man, if we can bring all of those emotions just to the table and even be able to acknowledge it, I think it'll actually help us experience the reality of what Christmas is supposed to be for us
and for others.
Yeah.
I think from talking to people, there are times that people feel forced to feel something they're not feeling, to come into a context and pretend things are perfect. But Christmas exists because things aren't perfect.
Yeah.
Hope exists because there's something to be hoped for. That type of thing. I, from a vulnerable perspective, going into Christmas and this idea of hope, something I experienced in the past, I don't know, like 72 hours. I have a son who's 17, and so I'm processing his final Christmas at home.
Okay, stop it now.
Oh yeah, and he and I found ourselves on a hike, a backcountry hike, and I am 44 and he's 17. His body is incredible, and I'm finding out that the body I have is not. Yeah, I'm seeing that I can't do the things that I had done in the past, and it brought us to a conversation. So I was feeling all these things, and I asked God, I was like, man, tell me the things I'm feeling and tell me how to process them, because there's a holy thing that's about to happen and I can't put my finger on it. And I was talking to him that evening, and I said, there's a bunch of sons who want their father to be proud of them. And I'm like, son, I'm proud of you. I want you to be proud of me as your father. And I think that here's where I'm going with this. Christmas becomes a time of hope on the surface for parents to show up. I think about back a long time ago, there had been fights in the superstores for the Elmos, the Tickle Me elbows.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, oh, it became so consumeristic. I would say, no, it became this golden ticket. That parents thought if they could get the golden ticket to show their kid that they love them, that they're a good parent. See, I got you the Tickle Me Elmo.
I took out 4 other parents.
I beat up parents for you. That Christmas becomes this time, this one golden ticket time, to show up and show that. And are you going to be proud of me as your parent? Am I going to provide that experience for you that I had growing up, that you will have the desire to create when you grow up because I did a good job? That's the thing I hope for.
I love that.
Yikes. Okay, that's what I'm bringing to the table is the what are the things hoped for? Because I found oh man, that in the conversation that Zion and I had that followed that vulnerability of that created this holiness because I brought tension, I brought pain, I feel broken, and he could say, I feel broken too. And we had this father-son moment. I believe in the Christmas season, in the Advent portion, there's this idea of exploring the things hoped for, and for God to have this father-child moment asking, what are the things you're hoping for?
Yeah. And that's a big part of what Advent is supposed to be. It's not, I don't know, it's not this attempt for us to pretend like these things that have happened haven't happened. Like, we're not going back to pre-Jesus and trying to get ourselves in this mindset of like, Jesus isn't born yet. It's like, but to a little bit, we're reflecting on what is the hope and the peace and the joy and the love that we have, but also what is the hope and the peace and the joy and the love that we still don't have yet, that we are still longing for, in this expectation that there is more. Like, traditionally, like, Advent wasn't just a time to remember Jesus coming, but it was also a time to remember that Jesus is coming back, and we are back in the place of singing, O come, Emmanuel. Like he has, and yet there's a fullness of things that we still haven't experienced yet. And I don't know, the things that you guys were talking about, like it seems like there's Christmas and your experience with your son, to me, feel a little bit paralleled in the sense that, like, when you're a kid, you don't know everything Christmas is, but you can feel it. When you're an adult, you know everything Christmas is, but you can't feel it anymore. Kind of like this 17-year-old going on a hike with his dad. You know how big of a deal that is. He doesn't. To a degree, he does. When he's 44 and maybe has a kid and is going on, then he will he will know it. But his body will be old and tired.
And he'll be all, this is why Dad throws up.
Yeah, but you got to experience the climb with someone who can feel it but doesn't know it. He got to experience the climb with someone who knows it but can't do it to the same degree that he could. And I don't know, like, you asked a really good question. What is it that we're hoping for? I think that's a great place to start, because if we don't ask that, Christmas is just this amalgamation of all these things, these pressures, these unmet expectations, and just this stuff. But if we can pinpoint anything, like you said, it's like, I just want my kid to be happy on Christmas. Something like that. It's like, I want my kid to be proud of me. Or like, I need peace. Like, forget love and joy. And
I don't need it.
I just need peace. I am hoping for peace. Like, I think that's a really powerful question. What are you hoping for?
And it's okay for everyone to have their own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes back every year, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
there's
Maybe
a
next
value
year. Yeah.
and there's a deeper expression or a shallower expression of the same thing. I remember doing this gigantic Advent podcast during the Tales from the Secret Cabin.
I was just thinking about this morning.
Yeah,
yes.
It popped up in my memories.
And I'm hoping that the things I say today are very different than that podcast, because I'm a different person.
Yes.
The things that I was hoping for during the pandemic should not be the same thing. It should not be going back to the same places. It should be going forward. It should be going down. It should be going up. But something should be happening.
I'm pretty sure we were seeking joy.
Well, I think, this first week of hope is a really important place to start. And I think that's why it comes first in Advent, obviously. But, I I suspect that the reason so many of us struggle with this idea, like if you were to go ask somebody, hey, what do you hope for? I guarantee you most people are going to sit there and go, I don't really know, right? Because I don't know that we live in a day and an age where we give ourselves permission to hope, right? Because we are so busy. Life does feel so chaotic and out of our control. Sometimes hope feels futile. Right. Sometimes hope feels pointless. So it's like, why would I hope for something that I have absolutely no control over? But this is where I think Advent is key for us as followers of Jesus to help reshape that. Because what it is us making this, declaration that like we may not be able to control the environment that we're in. We may not be the ones who can give ourselves everything that we need, but there is a one out there who can, right? So when you think about Advent, it is the waiting for the arrival of Jesus to come, right? And Jesus, he is God in flesh. And so there's something I think so countercultural about this idea of Advent and hope, because the world says it's up to you, it's up to you, it's up to you. But as followers of Jesus, we go, no, we are staking our entire hope in this thing that is happening, this thing that is happening, and this thing that is yet to come. And there's something beautiful and liberating and freeing for me in just hoping in this season.
I was talking to our 5th and 6th grade pastor. His name's Tim, and he said something really profound. He said there's a difference between hope and optimism. He said optimism is based on the odds, but hope is just pure belief. Like the odds aren't even like taken into consideration. So, which is what you're saying. It's like outside of control. It's like, I'm optimistic that this will take place because of this factor and this factor and this factor. Hope is just this. I don't know. It is this foundational grounding. I think one of the things many of us might be hoping for is just hope itself. Just hope in anything. Like a while back ago, I forget who it was, but someone taught me that if you are praying for someone who is like very sick, one of the biggest, it might have been my sister, because she's got this chronic illness. And I think I could be remembering this wrong, but I think she said something along the lines of like, the only thing that I need is hope. Like if I'm in pain, that's one thing, but as long as I have hope, like that gets me through the pain. And that taught me, it's like when people are experiencing like this chronic situation, whether it's an illness or a circumstance, it's like praying for hope is one of the most valuable things you can do. And I think there's something really significant about Advent happening during the darkest time of the year. Like there is less light this time of year than there is any other time of year. But the fact that we're lighting a candle and this is the beginning of the days getting brighter and longer, like symbolically, those are embodiments of hope and what it is. It's like even on the darkest day, it's just one candle. That's not a lot, but it's more light than there was before.
I was thinking, going off of that like, hope is the thing that gets us up every day. There's something that keeps us going forward and keeps us getting out of bed.
Yes.
And what happens at a time that hope is gone? And so is hope something to be celebrated if it's present?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes we throw out platitudes like, hope gets us through the day, and people are like, no, does it really? There was a study scientists did a number of years ago where they had this like bucket of water and they threw some mice in there. And the first group of mice that they threw in there, they all drowned within like a couple minutes, right? Because and then they did the second part of the experiment. They threw the mice in there, and right before the last group drowned, they pulled them out for a minute, and then they threw them back in. You know how long those mice continued to swim?
No, I do not.
30 hours.
Because
And
they
so
knew they
it was the idea that like
They
hope
could.
was not dead for them.
Huh.
And so they kept fighting and they kept fighting until they were finally pulled out of it, right? The first group who felt like they had no hope, they just gave up. But when hope is there, right? So like that statement you made that hope can get us through the day, can get us up, like that's not a platitude. That is a reality.
I think too, like there's a aspect where hope has to be reborn over and over because I really like what you said, Nate, where you said that there are people that feel like permission to hope, right? Because when you hope, there's also a element of disappointment that can be attached to that. Like in, praying for somebody with an illness that doesn't pull through, and then you now have this disappointment. The hope is lost in that moment. And so what does it look like then to have this rebirth of hope and every day maybe for that?
Well, this is where, like, honestly, I think it is so important for us as followers of Jesus to understand the story that God has dropped us in, right? Because sometimes when hope dies, like when we don't know the end of the story, when we don't know what is yet to come, like that is where it is very easy to just stop hoping and to not look for that rebirth and to not fight for that. But when we take seriously this thing that God has invited us into, we really start to understand our place within the larger story. And for me, that's the thing that in those moments in my life where it feels like hope is dying, like I go to the end of time, right? I go to the end of the story. Like I look at what Jesus said is yet to come and I go, okay, like, man, if that's where I'm getting and this is where I'm at, I know something has to happen between here and there, but I'm going to continue to hope because if I don't know what's yet to come, it's like, all right, well, I guess I'm done. I'm out.
I think it's awesome. And that's awesome. Like big picture, like big hope. I keep going back to thinking about, but what am I hoping for? Hope, if hope dies, I had to have hope in something or hope for something that the door is shut. But if I don't know the thing I'm hoping for, there are things I'm hoping for before the day I die.
Right.
I have those things. I have hope for the things that I'm going to experience at the age of 59 and a half. I have those. But what am I hoping for today or for December 24th? Or what am I hoping for my daughter? What am I hoping for my son? What am I? And so it seems that those hopes, if unspoken, are unseen or possibly unexperienced. Yeah. It would be a fun practice for us to call out our hopes.
Well, and maybe that's the practice for everyone watching this week.
Yeah.
To just sit down with the journal and prayerfully, walk through your life with the Lord and say, okay, what am I hoping for in this season? What am I hoping for in this next year? What about my lifetime? And then even think relationally, like, what are my hopes in my marriage? Or what are my hopes in my parenting? Or what are my hopes in my workplace and with my friendships?
For this podcast's sake, I like what you're saying, though. Like, what are our hopes like for this Advent season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone?
I almost don't want to give an answer because as soon as you do, it kind of begins to pour a bit of concrete. But I think that there is a value in inviting God to bring up the hopes of your heart compared to saying, okay, I'm going to pull out a pad paper and just jot things down, because then that feels like a goal or something to be achieved. But to go into a place that you invite Jesus and say, show me the things that I've been hoping for that I haven't had a vocabulary, or show me the things that cause me to feel about Christmas that I have not been able to verbalize before, or those sorts of things could be very valuable in this first season of Advent. That could be cool.
I think you, in what you just phrased, I think you showed this duality of hope that is really, really important. Like the first thing you were just like pondering us asking God is, what have I been hoping in? That's really, really important. Because if we're just asking, what do I hope for? Like that will lead to good things. And like, what do I hope for my family member? And yeah, it's like, that's good. But I think the question, what has my hope been in, leads us to more core bedrock foundational answers that the other things are built on.
Yeah, and maybe it even leads to some clarity to be able to answer the question of what should my hope be in.
Yeah.
Right, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of introspection that happens in that. But that's what Advent is for.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's the point. It's the journey, the journey of the wise men, the journey of the shepherds, the journey of Mary and Joseph. Everyone was on a journey and it was different. And so to celebrate the place that you're on, the journey that you're in, and inviting Jesus to come alongside you as identified as God is with us, Emmanuel. This is the point. So on Christmas, it's like, man, he and I have been together and he is here.
I'm going to pour a little bit of concrete. And it's pretty vague and open-ended.
I like it.
But I think this Advent, like I'm hoping for something real, which is what we're talking about. It's like, instead of just like these concepts of hope and peace and joy and love, but like what we experienced together during our journey through Lent, like that was something real. And it brought us to a place where Easter was real. And I'm hoping that this Advent season, that there's just something concrete and real.
Love it. All right. So I think that brings us to the end of today's podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you see us at church or you want to text us or email us, tell us the thing that you are hoping in or what God is doing during these times. I'm personally excited to hear about those things. So thank you for tuning in, and we all will see you soon.